After 20 Years, Chapter 9. This is a story of two friends who meet after 20 years and keep the promises they had made to each other. This story was written by Jimmy O. Henry. This is the pen name of William Sidney Porter. He is one of the famous American short story writers. His short stories are known for their wit, wordplay, warm characterization, and surprise endings. Like many other writers, O. Henry's early career aspirations were unfixed, and he wandered across different activities and progressions before he found his calling as a short story writer. He was a gifted short story writer and left us a legacy of great stories to enjoy. Meaning of the difficult words. Pen name. An assumed name used by a writer instead of their real name. His early work was written under the pen name of O. Henry. Wit, a natural aptitude for using words and ideas in a quick and inventive way to create humor. Wordplay, the witty exploitation of the meanings of words, especially in puns. And the meaning of puns is a joke exploiting the different possible meanings of a word. Aspiration, a hope or ambition of achieving something. Progressions, the process of developing or moving gradually towards a more advanced state. Now let us proceed with the story. The policeman on the beat moved up the avenue impressively. The impressiveness was habitual and not for show, for spectators were few. The time was barely 10 o'clock at night, but chilly gusts of wind with a taste of rain in them had well nigh peopled the streets. Some of the difficult words are beat. It means a main accent or rhythmic unit. Avenue is a broad road in a town or city, typically having trees at regular intervals along its sides. Impressively, in a way that evokes admiration through size, quality, or skill. Habitual, doing something constantly or regularly. Spectators, a person who watches at a show, game, or other events. Barely, only just, or almost not. Chilly, feeling cold. Gust, a sudden strong rush of wind. Nigh, almost. Depeopled, reduce the crowd. The vicinity was one that kept early hours. Now and then you might see the lights of a cigar store or of an all-night lunch counter, but the majority of the doors belonged to business places that had long since been closed. When about midway of a certain block, the policeman suddenly slowed his walk. In the doorway of a darkened hardware store a man leaned, with an unlighted cigar in his mouth. As the policeman walked up to him, the man spoke quickly. Some of the difficult words here are vicinity, that means the area near or surrounding a particular place. Cigar, a cylinder of tobacco rolled in tobacco leaves for smoking. Midway, in or towards the middle of something. Block, a large single building. Hardware store, a shop selling tools, implements, and other items used in home life and activities. Unlighted means unlit. "It's all right, officer," he said. "I'm just waiting for a friend." It's an appointment made 20 years ago. Sounds a little funny to you, doesn't it? Well, I'll explain if you would like to make certain it's all right. It's all straight. About that long ago, there used to be a restaurant where this store stands. Big Joe Brady's restaurant. Until 5 years ago, said the policeman, it was torn down then. Meaning, certain, having, or showing complete conviction about something. Straight, honest. Restaurant, a place where people pay to sit and eat meals that are cooked and served on the premises. Tone down means remove structure or destroy. The man in the doorway struck a match and lit his cigar. The light showed a pale, square-jawed face with keen eyes and a little white scar near his right eyebrow. His scarf pin was a large diamond, oddly set. Meaning of the difficult words are square-jawed face means having a relatively square jaw. Oddly set means being one of an incomplete pair or set. 20 years ago tonight, said the man, I dined here at Big Joe Brady's with Jimmy Wells, my best chum and the finest chap in the world. He and I were raised here in New York, just like two brothers together. I was 18 and Jimmy was 20. Meaning of the difficult words: dined means eat dinner in a restaurant. Chum is an expression about a close friend. Chap, very nice man or boy. The next morning, I was to start for the West to make my fortune. You couldn't have dragged Jimmy out of New York. He thought it was the only place on the earth. Well, we agreed that night that we would meet here again exactly 20 years from that date and time, no matter what our conditions might be or from what distance we might have to come. We figured that in 20 years each of us ought to have our destiny worked out and our fortunes made, whatever they were going to be. Some of the difficult words are West, the western part of the world or of a specified country. Make my fortune is to acquire great wealth by one's own effort. Dragged, to pull someone along forcefully. No matter what means definitely. Figured, think. Ought, used to indicate correctness. Fortunes, that means chance or luck. Destiny means the events that will necessarily happen to a particular person. It sounds pretty interesting, said the policeman. Rather a long time between meets, though, it seems to me. Haven't you heard from your friends since you left? Well, yes, for a time we corresponded, said the other. But after a year or two we lost track of each other. You see, the West is a pretty big proposition, and I kept hustling around over it pretty lively. But I know Jimmy will meet me here if he's alive, for he always was the truest, staunchest old chap in the world. He'll never forget. I came 1,000 miles to stand in this door tonight, and it's worth it if my old partner turns up. Some of the difficult words are corresponded means to communicate by exchanging letters. Lost track means no longer know where they are or what is happening. Proposition is an act of offering and suggesting. Hustle, a state of great activity. Staunchest means very loyal and committed in attitude. Chap is a friendly form of address between men or boys. Turns up means make an appearance. The waiting man pulled out a handsome watch, the lids of it set with small diamonds. 3 minutes to 10, he announced. It was exactly 10 o'clock when we parted here at the restaurant door. Did pretty well out in the West, didn't you? Asked the policeman. You bet. I hope Jimmy has done half as well. He was a kind of plodder, though good fellow as he was. I've had to compete with some of the sharpest wits going to get my pile. Some of the difficult words. Handsome watch means very attractive watch. You bet is an expression uh, defining as an expression you use to show an agreement. Plodder is a person who works in a slow and persevering but uninspired manner. Sharpest wit, having an acute mind or a smart person. Get my pile means to earn a large amount of money. A man gets in a grove in New York. It takes the West to put a razor edge on him. The policeman twirled his club and took a step or two. I'll be on my way. Hope your friend comes around all right. Going to call time on him sharp? I should say not, said the other. I'll give him half an hour at least. If Jimmy is alive on the earth, he'll be here by that time. So long, officer. Some of the difficult words. Get into a groove means to get used to a routine life. Put a razor edge is experiencing difficulties. Twirled is spin quickly and lightly round. Going to call time on him sharp means are you going to leave him if he is not exactly on time? So long means goodbye till we meet again. Good night, sir, said the policeman, passing on along his beat, trying doors as he went. There was now a fine cold drizzle falling, and the wind had risen from its uncertain puffs into a steady blow. The few pedestrians in the neighborhood hurried dismally and silently along with coat collars turned high and pocketed hands. And in the door of the hardware store the man who had come 1,000 miles to fill an appointment with a friend of his youth smoked his cigar and waited, and then a tall man in a long overcoat with collar turned up to his ears hurried across from the opposite side of the street. He went directly to the waiting man. Some of the words that we need to know the meaning are trying doors means checking the doors. Drizzle is light rain falling in every fine drop. Puffs is a short explosive burst of breath or wind. Pedestrians is a person walking rather than traveling in a vehicle. Dismally is in a gloomy or depressed manner. Coat an out piece of clothing that can be long or short that is worn to keep warm. Is that you, Bob? He asked doubtfully. Is that you, Jimmy Wells? Cried the man in the door. Bless my heart! Exclaimed the new arrival, grasping both the other's hands with his own. It's Bob, sure as fate. I was certain I would find you here if you were still in existence. Well, 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 20 years is a long time. The old restaurant's gone. Bob, I wish it had lasted, so we could have had another dinner there. How has the West treated you, old man? Now, some of the expression like bless my heart means used to express fondness for someone. Grasping is to take or seize eagerly. Sure as fate means impossible to doubt. That is certain. It has given me everything I asked it for. You have changed lots, Jimmy. I never thought you were so tall by 2 or 3 inches. Oh, I grew a bit after I was 20. Doing well in New York, Jimmy? Moderately. I have a position in one of the city departments. Come on, Bob. We'll go around to a place I know of and have a good long talk about old times. The two men started up the street arm in arm. One, his egoism, enlarged by success, was beginning to outline the history of his career. The other, submerged in his overcoat, listened with interest. Some of the difficult words are moderately means to a certain extent. Departments, a division of a large organization. Egotism is thinking about oneself and considering oneself better and more important than other people. Enlarged is make something bigger. Submerged is completely cover. At the corner stood a drugstore, brilliant with electric lights. When they came into this glare, each of them turned simultaneously to gaze upon the other's face. The man from the west stopped suddenly and released his arm. "You are not Jimmy Wells," he snapped. 20 years is a long time, but not long enough to change a man's nose from a Roman to a puck. Now let us see some of the difficult words here. Drugstore is a retail store where medicine and miscellaneous articles are sold. Brilliant is very bright light. Simultaneously is at the same time. Gaze, look steadily or intently. Snapped is break suddenly or completely. Roman nose is a nose with a prominent bridge. Puck nose is a short nose with an upturned tip. "It sometimes changes a good man into a bad one," said the tall man. "You've been under arrest for 10 minutes, Silky Bob." "Going quietly, are you?" "That's sensible. Now before we go to the station, here's a note I was asked to hand you. You may read it here at the window. It's from Patrolman Wells." The man from the west unfolded the little piece of paper handed to him. His hand was steady when he began to read, but it trembled a little by the time he had finished. The note was rather short. Some of the words that we need to know here are: under arrest means the act of using legal authority to catch and take someone to a place where the person may be accused of a crime. Sensible, done or chosen accordance with wisdom or prudence. Unfolded means open or spread out from a folded position. Trembled means shake voluntarily due to anxiety or fear. "Bob, I was at the appointed place on time. When you struck the match to light your cigar, I saw it was the face of the man wanted in Chicago. Somehow, I couldn't do it myself. So I went around and got a plainclothes man to do the job." Let us see some of the difficult words. Appointed means decided of time or place beforehand designated. Man wanted means being searched for by the police because of a crime. Plain clothes is an ordinary clothes rather than uniform specially worn by police officers. So this is the end of the story, and the story was written by Jimmy O. Henry.